This is lesson number 1. We're just going to go up here to the browser and type in Tennessee code. First link. There you go. View Tennessee code. And I agree. Now we'll start right here with the thing we're going to talk about today, which is the grand jury notice. So let's go first of all to Title 40, Criminal Procedure 12, Grand Jury Proceedings, General Proceedings. And let's check out right here, 105. And I am not a robot. So it says here, the clerk of the court having trial level jurisdiction in each county of the state shall cause to be published. And then they show the notice, and here's the notice. Now, the thing that they're doing wrong in most counties is there's a blank right here. And it says that it's been may apply to testify before the grand jury, subject to the provisions of Tennessee codes annotated, and then they leave a place for you to write the code number there to tell you the procedure for going. What the clerk in my county is doing is she is putting 40-12-105 in here, which is this, the notice. What she should put here is 40-12-104. Let's look at that. That's how we appear. That's the procedure you use in grand jury appearances. And right here we go, 40-12-104. Any person having knowledge or proof of the commission of a public offense, tribal or indictable in the county, may testify. You don't apply like it says up here, which is very misleading. Titles are misleading. You may testify before the grand jury. You may testify, which means when you see may in the law, it's a permissive, which means you can or you don't have to, but you can if you want to. I may do it, but it's up to me to decide if I want to go do it. The person having knowledge or proof shall appear before the foreman. I shall appear. I have proof. I'm going to show up and I'm going to stand before the foreman in the grand jury room, and the person may submit affidavits, but the person shall, I get to pick right here. Look at C. The person shall designate 2 grand jurors. I look around the room, and I get to pick 2 people. With those 2 people and the foreman, which is not, he's appointed by the judge for a 2-year term, we go into a room, and this is my panel, my 3-person panel. Now, what I tell these people cannot ever be repeated to anyone. The grand jury proceedings are totally secret. If they tell anyone, they are committing a felony. And so imagine that if the grand jury were operating properly, people would go every month or every few months, how often you have grand jury meetings in your county, and you get to go in, pick 2 people, and tell them what you know about the corruption in your town. Wouldn't that be incredible? But instead, what most counties are doing is they don't tell people this part, and they don't put this number. See, this is the number 104. That what goes in here and goes in the notice to tell us how we're supposed to appear. But they don't do that, not at all. Nope. Now, let's look back at the notice for a second. It says that she's required to do it. Now, look right here. In addition to the other duties required by this section, the clerk shall post a written notice in the form set above right here in a place convenient to the public in the county courthouse. Now, watch this. Look at C. This is the good one. Failure by the clerk to perform the duties required by this section is a misdemeanor and grounds for removal from office. It's that important. Now, when the law doesn't specify which misdemeanor it is, you assume it's a Class A. The way you know that is if the law doesn't say, assume it's Class A. So she's committing a Class A misdemeanor in office and can be removed from office for not posting the notice in the paper as she's required. So let's go check out and see. It's Sparta, Tennessee. Expositor, I think is the name of the paper. There it is. Here's their website. And look, there's their legals. There's the legals. But before we get to that, let's go back to Tennessee codes for just a moment. Now, we know the clerk is supposed to put this notice in the paper, and we know how we're supposed to appear right here at 104. And if you have any knowledge, you can show up, pick your two people, appear before the foreman, get your panel, tell them what you know. And what happens is uh, the panel may consult the district attorney and the court for guidance and decision, and they make a decision. And if two of the three panelists decide that they want to hear more, you go out and talk to the whole grand jury, and you get to tell them all what's going on. So everybody got that so far. Very powerful thing, the grand jury. We should all be going and telling them what we know, and affect, because these are regular people like us who were, their names were drawn out of a hat, and it's their job to keep everybody straight and do 7 duties I'll tell you about later. Remind me. But let's go back to the top and let's look at what the newspaper's requirement is here. Here it is. Newspapers of general circulation that publish public notices required to post notice in its entirety on website for the same price. Let's take a look at that one. So they passed this in 2014. So it has to go on a newspaper's website where it shall be published contemporaneously with the notice's first print, blah, 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 on the statewide website. So 3 things have to happen. It has to be posted on a hard copy on the newspaper that they distribute, has to be on their website, and it has to be on the state website. So we know what the requirements by law are. So let's go see if they are doing that. We go to legals. We click on legals. Here's January 18th. The grand jury met a few weeks ago, and I missed it. I needed them. I needed to go. I had reason to go and couldn't find them because it's not here. Every other notice is here. The notice of the trustee sale every time for those folks who can go buy up properties or whatever. They put all that in. Look at all that. Here's March 5th. We're already back to March 5th. Nothing. No grand jury notices at all. So I go to court this morning on my case, which we won't get into here, but I asked the clerk. I said, Barbara, are you following 40-12-105, posting the public notice that you have the grand jury meeting? She said, absolutely. I sent it to the finance department. They send it to the newspaper. I said, great. So I head over to the newspaper and I asked the lady, she looks it up on her computer. She can't find it on the website. She's looking a little concerned at this point. She goes and gets her boss, the editor, and the editor tells me that it's in the hard copy. She shows it to me that they did print it in the hard copy, but it's not on the internet and it's not on the statewide website. So let's go back to Tennessee codes here. Now, if the law requires you to do something and you don't do it, you can assume it's a misdemeanor. And when it's always a misdemeanor, you can assume it's Class A if the law doesn't say. So, in my expert, non legal opinion, uh, this is a Class A misdemeanor that the newspaper is committing, and it caused me to miss my opportunity for several months to go to the grand jury with my problem. Now, look right here on C. An error in a notice placed in the newspaper website or statewide website, or a temporary website outage or service interruptions prohibiting the posting or display of the notice shall be considered a harmless error, and proper legal notice requirements shall be considered shall be considered um, met if the notice is published in the newspaper is correct. So their notice in the newspaper is correct. But this is not an outage, and this is not an error in the notice. It's not an error in the notice, or it's not a temporary website outage, because those would be considered harmless and would be considered the legal notice requirements shall be considered met if those conditions are true. But if it's not on the website of the state website and it's not on the local newspaper's website, then can the legal notice requirements be considered met? I don't think so. I don't think that they're meeting their legal requirements under the law to publish the public notice that lets me know where my grand jury is going to meet. So this is just one example of what you can do. Now, what can you do with kind of information like this? First of all, I don't recommend that you go out and buy handcuffs and start trying to arrest folks, but letting them know that you can and talking about that, I have no problem with. So let's just look. So we know that they're committing a crime, and it affected me personally, but let's say you found out about something that someone's doing that is criminal, and this obviously is a misdemeanor because it's not an error placed in the notice, it's not an error on the newspaper website, and it's not a temporary website outage that caused me not to see it. It was the fact that they did not even post it, but they posted other things. They posted a lot of other legal notices that were in the paper and on the website. Now, let me ask you, why is this particular notice, of all the notices that the clerks do, this is the only one that doesn't get put in all three places? Now, why is that? I bet you if you look, all these trustee sales are on the state website too. I bet you they're there. But the grand jury notice isn't there. I just don't know what to think about that. So at this point, let's just, as a recap, we know that the requirements 40-12-105 requires the clerk to post it. She did her part, so she did the right thing. The newspaper failed in their requirement on this one. So leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And if this was helpful, do me a favor. Check your county. Leave me a comment. If you live in Tennessee, go right now. Go to Google. Type in Tennessee codes. Look at it for yourself. Do what I just did. Go check your newspaper in your county. See if they have a grand jury notice. If it's not there, check the statewide website. If it's not there, go talk to your newspaper. If they don't know anything, go talk to your clerk. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you find. I've done a preliminary look on the statewide website, and there are a whole lot of counties that aren't doing it. I don't know if it's the newspaper's fault or if it's the clerk's fault, but either way, it's a crime, I think. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.